for Precinct 1902, which is up in near Hidden Springs Cartwright Ranch, and also the secretary for the Ada County Vetting Committee. And so we are happy to be vetting all and talking with all the different candidates. We thank you for your time, and thank you for the extra effort you've taken to schedule this twice.
You know what?
And today what we're going to do is we have about 10 questions, and my compatriots, my wonderful compatriots here, they'll introduce themselves and they will be asking those. I'm going to be taking some notes. I'm also recording this, but just recording it for the purpose of helping complete your profile. That recording will go nowhere other than just helping me reference back to anything that I need as I work to take notes out of this for your profile. And once we combine your survey responses and these interview responses, we'll combine that into a draft profile I'll send to you that you can then approve, and then eventually it will make its way onto the Ada County GOP website.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to let the team introduce themselves. Maybe we'll go Robin, Carlos, and then Dwight, because Dwight has the first question.
Okay. Hi, Lisa. I'm Robin Ballard, and I am alternate PC for Precinct 1901, which is Avamore, about 7 miles north of Eagle.
Sure. I'm familiar with Avamore.
Okay, and this is me. This is Carlos Vidales. I'm a precinct committee manager for 2218 in Southwest Ada County.
And Lisa Marie, where are you from? You said you were familiar with Avamore.
Oh, I currently live in Eagle. I've lived in Eagle.
Oh, super. Yeah, so my name is Dwight McCarty. I'm the PC for 1409, which is the downtown region, basically from Ballantyne all the way down to Plaza.
Mm-hmm.
And been involved in the Central Committee for a while, and just local Eagle politics for a long time. So, if we are ready to kick it off, I can start with, as a candidate for governor, highest in our land, you should always be ready to talk about your campaign and give us sort of or at least have a 1, 3, and 5 minute speech for depending on who you are talking with. So, and our previous candidates have given us their 1 minute speech, usually in about 3.5 or 4 minutes. But if you have a 1 minute sort of elevator speech, we'd love to hear it.
Sure. Well, we moved to Idaho. I talked my mom to moving to Idaho with 14 boxes and 2 bikes in 1978. And I fell in love with Idaho. We came on vacation here, and my mother was a single parent. And it was a lot of challenges for a single parent back in 1963. I'm 62 years old. And I saw my mom struggling as a single parent, not just financially, but trying to keep her daughter safe. And a lot of people do know me. I don't know if all of you are familiar that I have run for governor. I've run for U.S. House of Representatives. I've been doing this since 2014. Idaho is very much my love. I love it deeper than the oceans. In 2005, Idaho was picked the entrepreneurial state in U.S. News and World Report. A lot of people don't know that. That was a tipping point for my life, because in the U.S. News and World Report, they had picked a dozen companies to represent Idaho as entrepreneurs. You know, I never thought in my whole entire life as a child, you know, I only had 1 year of college. I really struggled with just making sure that my mom was okay. And I was actually the one that was pictured in the U.S. News and World Report with my company's son, Rooibos. My heart runs very deep and really wide with our state. I would have never been able to achieve what I've achieved entrepreneurial-wise if it wasn't for our state and mentors that pulled me aside and just said, you know what, we believe in you. We know where your heart is. There are a lot of things that happened in our state that regrettably is what took me away from our whole political world. In 2007, my company Red Rocks, which actually was a drink that was used in the NFL, Major League Baseball, and I actually brought this. I brought a couple of little tidbits because when you were talking about Idaho. So this was the title back when. You can read that. It says Eagle Entrepreneurs, Red Rock Sports Drink has fans even before it hit shelves. My company went global very fast. And with that, when your company goes global, it also brings in people that are not okay. I'm just going to put it that way. I really needed my governor at that time, and this was back in 2007. And I really needed the high elected officials to really look at what was happening, not only with my company, but I was dealing with a lot of issues within my family and watching a lot of families. It didn't matter what the financial struggle was, whatever level you were, when your children, both of my children, were actually molested. And when you're going through this situation, and you're dealing on all the different levels of law enforcement, you're dealing with all the different levels, of the safety of your children and your family. You're dealing with corporate law, you're dealing with, I would say, sabotage, which is very well known, and I'm using that word very clearly.
And Lisa Marie,
Yeah.
Not to interrupt you, but
Sure.
I'm going to a little bit.
It's okay.
What I was really asking is sort of in a 1 minute, do you have like a priorities of what you are wanting to do as governor and sort of just your sort of, here's my name, here's what I'm going to do, and here's what I'm running for governor for? That's really what I was
Okay,
looking for. I appreciate your story.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I will. Let me let a couple of people pass right now. I'm outside. I'm at the hotel. Okay. You ready? I'll give you the 1 minute.
All right.
I believe that our children do not come first. I've been running for very high elected positions because of this reason. And all of a sudden I'm at a conference and people are walking out. So let's just back up. They're going to be gone in a second. I'm so sorry about this.
That's all right. What hotel are you at?
I'm actually in San Diego at the Omni. We're doing filming here.
That's super.
Yeah, we're
That's
doing
super. What are you filming?
documentaries on missing children.
Oh, super. Are you familiar with Ryan Mata?
No.
Good. Okay, looks like they're passed.
Okay, here we go. Here's your 1 minute. I'm running for governor because I've run for all the high elected positions, the majority of them since 2014. What I've seen has been positive and negative at the same time. What I believe is that we are able to bring on more voices into our political system. I see a lot of people that do not want to vote at all. Only 3.5 out of 10 people are voting. A number of people don't want to be Republicans, they don't want to be Democrats, and it's very important that we have the voice of the 6.5 out of 10 people that aren't voting and why they're not voting. Our children are not thriving in the world that we have today. But they're not thriving in the world, they're not thriving in our country, they're not thriving in our state. And there's a lot of common denominators why our children are not thriving. When I filled out the form for Ada County, every question that all of you asked, the same with Elmore and all the forms that we've gotten, the one thing that I'm not seeing is what is really affecting our children, because what's affecting our children is really every element of the questions that we're being asked. And that's to me the biggest problem there is. And I'm just going to say to you that what I have a real problem with is that we have over 1,000 children missing a day. People in the state that have known me well, we have over 30 to 60, we have an average of 30 to 60 children that are missing in Idaho. And one of the main reasons why I'm running is because Michael Vaughn needs to be found. So everyone's going to see what I'm doing about trying to find Michael Vaughn. And it's not just isolated on missing children, but there are reasons why children go missing. And 7 out of 10 children are runaways. What are they running away from? And a lot of the reasons why these things are happening are all the questions that I'm being asked as a governor. And they have to specifically be addressed. That's what I have to say.
Okay, that's a very worthwhile cause.
May I proceed with my question, please? So Lisa, you having your priorities for as a governor would be education, workforce development, public safety, infrastructure. How would you go about advocating for all those priorities?
Well, public safety is the most important right now for children. And I mean, you know, not only as a parent, but I actually roll every single day as if I'm governor, right? And I look at, as a parent, what's the number one, number two, number three, number four, because I am a parent. I'm an older parent, I'm a grandparent now. And my number one was if my child went missing, what I would do. And it's really shocking to me that most people don't know that the Amber Alert doesn't go off only but 1 in 300 children. And I'm just using that just as an isolated case, right? So that's an education that has to happen. The Idaho State Police is very underfunded. Most of our law enforcement is extremely underfunded. They can't even print posters of our children that are missing because they don't have the money to do it. So in the state of Idaho, this is what I've been doing since the day Michael Vaughn went missing, along with many of our other children. The other side to it is, on a level of education, the families, and I don't mean to, you know, try to categorize, but from what I find out there and what I know is half the families are struggling to just raise their children. You know, we do have extremely broken homes, and it's not just financially, it's on all different levels. You know, our children, there's a very big list why our children are not thriving. You know, one of the biggest problems right now is even the sexual side of things. We just passed a bill that men can't go into women's bathrooms and women can't go into men's bathrooms. And now you've got a lot of parents and people that, you know, are binary, and that's causing an issue. You know, we're dealing with a lot of mental health right now. We're really not looking as to, these children are sitting back saying, you know, how can we conform? You know, when our minds aren't okay, when we're not feeling good, when our parents aren't feeling good, when we're being shifted to 2 or 3 different houses. You know, these are problems that I see that are affecting the families immediately, which is the quality of life that our children are going through.
Okay, Lisa, I have a question for you. When budget cuts are proposed, how would you decide which programs are reduced and which ones are protected?
I know. You know what? I'm going to be honest, that's a really tough question. You know, you have to really listen to what people are saying. And this is where I've seen that not happening, you know, on the political structure, which is, in my opinion, the reason why people don't vote. They just don't want to be involved because they feel that their voice isn't being heard. And I feel that's what's really important, is that when we're going to have to deal with a very serious issue, are we going to cut that or are we not going to cut that? We have to spend more time in really evaluating who is it going to harm and who is it going to help. There's a system that I feel isn't strong enough and isn't in place that we can really evaluate these questions. And, you know, I've seen it, you know, and this is where a lot of everyday people come from. If you've got the money, you're going to get the vote. You're going to get that passed. I mean, this is the feeling of everyday people. You know, they've lost confidence in what's happening with the political structure and who are making the decisions based on the big companies wanting to get past what they need to get past for their bottom line. And this is how many people feel. How are we going to take that away from them so that when we do make that decision, we cut the budget, we didn't cut the budget, we can show the people why we made that decision.
Okay, thank you.
Dwight, you're muted. Dwight, you're muted.
Thank you. What performance metrics should agencies be held to?
Are you talking, when you're talking about performance metrics, I mean, can you expound just a bit more on that?
Yeah, I think the spirit of the question is sort of like, do you just give them money into an open pit, or do you measure, how would you, as governor, measure results? You know, like health and welfare has our largest budget, and what are the results? How do you measure their success? How do you measure if we keep giving them money? That sort of thing.
Oh, that is vital. And sorry, wasn't trying to be vague on how you asked the question.
It's a good way to clarify.
The results have to be monitored, and this is what I don't see. I do see money.
And just in case I wasn't clear, I was thinking myself just from a performance metrics standpoint. Sorry, keep going.
Well, the system.
I guess, how would you measure success?
You've got to end up really seeing. You have to have a very laid out plan. And I'm a master strategist. I mean, that's what I do. And when you lay out a master strategy, you really have to put layers in place. They have to be achieved layers. And it's not. I see too much gray area there when I see most people's plans on, do they really have it laid out like an onion? You've got to see, did you achieve this? Then you can go to the next level. If you're not seeing a performance on this particular scope, then you've got to stop right there, and you have to say, we need to evaluate this. If we're putting money over here and we stated you're going to get this money because you need to see a result, I see that it's too gray usually when I see what they're stating is a result. I mean, I don't feel that there are enough levels there to say we need to stop right here because the results aren't happening. Does that make sense? I mean, you've got to really have it laid out extremely tight.
Totally get it.
I mean, I don't know how much more to say to that. It just has to be a very tight.
Yeah, no, I think you answered it great.
You're going to hurt some feelings, but it doesn't matter. And let me put one. Can I put one more thing on there, so that when these systems come in place, just to say that there is a vote that this money is going here, there has to be some sort of recourse also going. Wait a minute, we voted the money was going to be there. Just because you got the vote in, this needs to stop. There has to be some sort of clause that there can be a recourse. I just wanted to add that.
They sort of along the same way, this nowadays a lot of fraud in government has come to light. What role should government play in preventing fraud in public? In these public programs, they are just. Minnesota is the biggest case, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of cases. So, what would you go about doing to ensure accountability?
I have seen, the reason why, I'm going to tell you straight, the reason why that I've been running since 2014 is I've seen so much fraud in our elections. And I've seen fraud with the elected officials. That's the part that is bothering me more than anything, is because if I'm seeing up front fraud within our elections and fraud within our elected officials and this whole game that's happening here, then you've got fraud at the top. If you have fraud at the top, it's going to trickle all the way down to what you have to do to manage everything. And there has to be more accountability across the board, just on candidates, on elected officials, on what the power that exists out there, the power that exists within the nonprofit and for-profit structures that are here to make sure that that we are able to thrive.
I'm sorry, I don't think quite understood. And you said that there's fraud in the elections. Can you elaborate more than what you have seen?
I'm going to actually be releasing it during my time running for governor, and it's not pretty.
Right.
I saw straight on fraud. I have audios of the 2014 Republican convention, and I've held my tongue for a very long time. This is actually the first time I'll tell all of you that I love Thad. Thad and I had a really straight on, tight conversation, and just that all of you are hearing. And when I first got Thad on the phone, I gave him exactly what my whole role has been since I've been running since 2014. I was really blunt with him. And initially I said to him, Hey, you know, the reason, if people say, why is she running for governor? Because she just wants to find Michael Vaughn. You know, what's the worst case scenario? But there are a number of people like me that have stuck into the Republican Party because there are some very good people that are there, and I see a lot of things that are happening that are positive. But the only way that any party is going to survive, ours or the Democratic Party, however way it's going to play out, and the new parties, is that we're not going to make it if we only have 3.5 people out of 10 voting. That's what we have to focus on. We're going down to 3 out of 10 people that are voting. It's going to collapse.
Okay, I have a little bit of a different question. How would you address illegal immigration in Idaho?
Oh, you know, my heart again goes out. I'm at the border right now for that reason. I mean, you've got mothers carrying their babies on their backs, being sent back, you know, with our borders being, you know, open for as long as they are. It's a very sad situation, you know, what's happening with ICE and so on and so forth. Still at this point, you know, if they are not legal citizens, they have to be handled humanely, you know, and I believe that they have to go back, you know, unless we can. I mean, it's a tough one for me. I mean, I'm not trying to be vague on it, but we can barely take care of our own people. And it's not that we don't have enough money. We're just not doing the right things with our money. We're a very rich country. And what I see out here on vacations and what I see out here in Fortune 500 companies is so much wasted money that money can definitely be used for our own citizens. But we put ourselves in a very, very bad situation with having those borders that were open for as long as they have. And it's a tough one for all of us that have a heart. What are we going to do with it? I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, we have to hold hands together and just I believe that we just have to take each case and look at it. And I mean, it makes me want to cry because I'm out here watching this. So I'm being a little emotional on that.
So no thoughts specifically within Idaho, what we should be doing?
Yep. Any of the illegal aliens need to be confined, and we have to deal with those cases. We really do. And I can't even give you an answer right now because that's what I just finished doing when I was in Idaho, right now dealing with a number of the illegal aliens, and it's just a sad situation. So if they've got children and they have no place else to go, then we need to come up with some sort of structure so that we can get them back to their countries safely. I believe that they need to go home, but we have to look at their situation currently. That's my opinion.
Okay. Let's see. So you'll probably have a really good answer on this. How will you defend parental rights in education?
Well, we're dealing with a number of parents that are not, shouldn't even have children. We need to look at that. So what we're not looking at is we're not looking at the mental stability of a parent first. That's one thing. There needs to be an evaluation. You have a number of parents that are literally on antidepressants all day long, self-medicating, you know, mothers and fathers, and we're not looking at that element. That's one thing that I'm bringing up actually on my website and questions in a forum that I'm working on is, are you really able to make life and death situations for your own child? We've got to look at that. For the parents that actually are able to make the decisions and are the custodial parents on the educational side, what I'm seeing is unsafe schools. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Laura Bolton, but we've got to really look at our schools right now as to who are our teachers, what are the conditions. I just spoke to a teacher the other day, and she actually was fired from school There was so much rat poop at the high school that it infected a lot of the kids. It was horrible. I mean, I don't know how that's happening in Idaho. I don't know if you're familiar with that. The case was on TV and she actually reached out to me. So that when you have situations that are unsafe in our schools and you have unsafe teachers, this is where a number of parents are coming from right now, is they're afraid to send their children to public schools. Who's teaching their kids? So if you're not familiar with Laura Bolton, I would look her up.
Okay.
So,
I see
when
that
it comes to the,
sorry.
I'm sorry, were you gonna say something else?
I see that to be number one. I don't mean to carry on to that, but we've got to know, parents have to know who are their teachers and running the school. And as a parent, I lost all confidence in 3 principals that my children were going through. And I'll be expounding on that running for governor. Go ahead.
Okay, so regarding the federal government, it's quite fashionable, I should say, to talk about
Yeah.
federal intrusion nowadays. So how would you go about protecting the state's interests before federal agencies and all those mandates that they put on us?
Well, this is the reason why we have a state level. And you have to come together as a very strong, that's why the elected officials really have to work closely with each other, and they have to be on the same page, because you can turn around federal law, state can turn around federal law with the right backing and the right defense. And that's what we have to be able to do, is we have to be able to protect what the federal government is putting towards us, especially on the school level and on the health level, that is affecting our budgets in our state, and it's affecting safety, and it's affecting our bottom line. Are you understanding what I'm saying when it comes to when the federal money, I guess my words aren't right here. Let me just back up a second, and I don't mean to be unfocused.
Your turn.
When the feds push on us as states, stating that this federal money is going to happen in your state, and I'm dealing with that right now on a personal level, in our own family, and the criteria that they put on this money, this is where we have to change the voting, because we have to be able as a state to be able to say, we would rather not have your federal money with this kind of criteria that you're putting on us. And there are a number of areas where that federal funding should actually be state funding. So they should be able to give us this money, and we should be able to then lay down the law as to how that money is going to be used. Does that make sense?
I think I understand what you're saying. I don't know how feasible that is, but I understand what
Well,
you're saying.
in my opinion, there's a will, there's a way, because it is very detrimental, and I don't want to give the personal reason why I'm dealing with this firsthand, but it's affecting my daughter right now. And this is an argument that I've had with the feds right now with this federal money, and what the implications are. So I do believe that it's just you have to have these elected officials, when they're in their position, they have to be able to band together and go, look, we are just not, we don't care that you're the federal government. You are affecting our state, and you're not listening to us. And if you're going to give us this money, we need to be able to control it, or at least 50% of it. That's what I'm here to say.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How are you planning on keeping your constituents informed, and how will you respond to their concerns?
There have to be more people in place listening to what they're saying. The structure that we have in place right now has, sorry everyone.
It's not a thigh. It's twisted a certain way. It's not a thigh. It's kind of like grab, kind of
separate from like
but
just the
push your
girls.
knee out from behind you.
This is the reason why I've continued to run, because I find it extremely difficult to be able to reach our elected officials. And the structure that we have in place with mayors and commissioners, when we talk about the state level, when we talk about the county level, when we talk about the city level, as our state continues to grow, as most continue to grow, you don't have enough people in place to be able to hear the voice of the people. I mean, it's just factual. And for example, on a city side, a city council, like Boise, for example, they don't allow a 3-minute to be able to have their people be able to give a 3-minute public testimony. No. We've got to be able to have a solid filter, but I just believe that what's extremely broken is really being able to listen to what the people have to say. And to do that, you really have to have a whole new infrastructure. You know, as governor, I've already laid out a whole entire infrastructure on how parents can reach us, how kids can reach us, how business owners can reach us, how they're able to fill out their forms. This is actually what's happening. Put people out on the field to be able to go specifically to their businesses or to their homes, have forums. This is what I'm not seeing happening, which is the reason
So
why.
but how are you going to inform your constituents of what's going on?
Through these forums, through
Okay,
having,
but how will you reach out to us?
through the
So
people
like,
who I have in place. I'm saying what I'm looking at doing is having a person accountable for every county. I mean, I'll take it. I didn't know that you were asking to go deeper on that. I will have people in place in every county, people that are in place in every city, so they can get directly straight to the governor, and they have to. And I mean, I can't tell you exactly how I'm going to do that right now, because a lot of it has to do with budget money, and if I have to put that money out of my pocket, I'm going to do it, or get people to support that. We need to be able to really hear the voice of the people.
okay, thank you.
All right, so as we are sort of getting close to the wrap-up part, it seems like what is very near and dear to your heart, which is a great cause, is finding lost children and basically protecting our children from everything. And it seems like you were talking about that a lot in your life and here on this in this interview. But is there anything that you wish voters or other people that are important in this race are asking you that they aren't? Is there any topics or issues that you want to talk about that nobody's asking you about? Now's your opportunity to let us know.
Yeah, I don't want to correct you. It's not about lost children. We're talking about missing children, okay? And what I'm saying is that if we have 7 out of 10 children that are missing, why are they running away?
And
the
because
list-
I'm
and-
less involved than you are, is there a difference? What's your difference between missing and lost?
Well, I'm just using, I'm not, I guess, lost. There's runaways, lost. I'm not trying to debate on you. I'm just saying under the category of missing children, there's 7 out of 10 are runaways. So I don't look at them as being lost.
Okay.
They're running away for a reason. Right?
Okay.
And so we actually laid out a very large schematic, and this is what I do all the time, on laying out these master strategies. And I feel the thing that is most important for what people really need to understand, especially the position of a governor, is that we are here to make sure that you are safe. And if you can't pay your electric bill, you're not safe. If you can't pay your rent, you're not safe. If you put your child on the bus and they don't make it to school, you're not safe. Right? How are we going to protect our children just from predators alone? There are predators, aren't just the ones that pick them up. The predators are out there as air, water, and food. What is our food quality? What is our air quality? I mean, all of this, when we look at the thriving, how we thrive as human beings. Right? We have health, we have education. You know, where is our house? Where are we living? What's the environment around where we're living? What kind of toxins are affecting us? I just had a family reach out to me yesterday that they actually have E. coli, in their water system. I mean, that's a tough one. And that didn't go on the news. A lot of people, the point is, they are just not thriving, and we need to hear why they're not thriving. And in my opinion, the reason why people are not thriving is because our elected officials and those that are in conjunction with large corporations are really not putting the people first. That's what I'm here to say. And our children do come first. And that's not happening.
So, Lisa, I have a follow-up question to that. Just so I'm understanding you. At the beginning, you mentioned this too, but are you saying that it's the government's job if a parent is not adequate in caring for their kids, that it's the government's job to step in and provide all those resources for that child?
No, I'm not saying that. It's isolated cases,
Okay.
I've got a parent. There's a parent right now. The husband completely beat her up. She's got 3 kids. He wasn't able to make the house payment. I mean, I'm constantly listening to people and talking to people because I'm out here. And again, these situations need to be isolated. There's also a way that there are a lot of people that do have a lot of money that want the money to go to the right places. And there are really good nonprofit organizations that are in place that can help. But there's not enough monitor, in my opinion, about most nonprofit organizations. You really have to be able to see their books and what they're going to do. But
And then one other question, just briefly, it kind of flew by at the very beginning. You mentioned that there's parents of children that the parents may be non-binary, and I'm curious if you could just say a little bit more about where you stand on that with the bathroom bill being passed. It sounded like you disagreed with that bathroom bill.
I don't disagree with it. I'm just, my heart, I don't disagree with it because that's where predators happen. So don't take that as a disagreement. What happens is that it's already caused some issues, with, there are a lot of binary children that are out there now. A boy just got completely beat up in the bathroom, in the boys' bathroom. And he would actually go into the girls' bathroom to feel safe, and the girls would protect him. And there's just, these aren't just isolated. This is what these kids are going through. Okay? And this is where we need to be human, and we have to understand that that's why we're losing people from the government. They just don't care. I mean, how many people have said to me for years, like, why would you even want to run for these elected positions? Why would you even want to run for governor? Why do you even talk to these people? This is overall. And the only way that can change is that they really do need to see us make that change. And be nice.
Thank you for clarifying that. And we have just one final question, and this one will not be part of your profile, but and you've run a number of times, so you've obviously thought about this, and you may not need to elaborate too much, but the media and political opponents conduct deep background research, including social media, financial records, legal history, and associations with others. Is there anything they might raise that you'd want to explain or provide context for now?
Oh, well, I've actually made it really public in 2014 why I started getting arrested on purpose. And I was concealing on purpose to get as many warrants out for my arrest that I possibly could, because in 2016 I actually ran for Ada County Sheriff with 6 warrants out for my arrest. All I did was pay $40 and I was actually able to run for sheriff. That's crazy. I acquired 11% of the votes. You know, more is going to come out there. My son is an Ada County Deputy Sheriff. I love my son with all my heart. I mean, I haven't spoken to him in a minute. But I'm going to tell you, both my children were molested. And our law enforcement wasn't there to protect my daughter. All right? So there'll be more that comes out. You know, I don't want it. It's taken a long time for my daughter to be able to say, Mom, go ahead and tell what really happened. I mean, you're talking to a woman that moved to Idaho in 1978, that built one of the biggest businesses in our state. I know the game-changing people that are in our state. I've been here a long time. And a lot of people have no idea why, when I was running in 2014, it was Barry Peterson who was the head of the Republican, he was the chair of the Republican Party. And I was actually going to go Democrat because I just, you know, it wasn't about the party. It was just about super nice, kind people. So I think it's going to be very interesting when all of you end up hearing and seeing some things. I am going to share this with you, that this is going to go out throughout the state. So I spent the last 4 years actually making a comic book, and we're finishing up the movie trailer. And it is actually mostly all nonfiction. And the first book is about Taryn Summers, who was actually found dead in a trash bag in Emmett, 8.5 years old. And just stay tuned. But I really would like for all of you, just on a personal note, this doesn't need to be filmed or anything like this, but this is the Idaho State Police official poster for Michael Vaughn. Currently, right now, we have 49 children that are missing in the state of Idaho. And the reason why his body needs to be found is because they can't prosecute or potentially prosecute 2 other people. I'm not going to expound on that because you shouldn't. And without a body, we got a problem. And I don't know if all of you are familiar with Steve Pankey, who ran with me in 2018 running for governor. It was myself and Raul Labrador, Brad Little, and Tommy Alquist. And little did all of us know the fact that Steve Pankey actually murdered John L. Matthews. This was in 2018 when he was running for governor. In 2019, John L. Matthews' body was found, and he's sitting in jail in Colorado for the murder of John L. Matthews, and he was able to run for governor in the state of Idaho. How does that happen when he was the #1 suspect?
And who was that? Who was that? Did you say?
Steve Pankey ran in 2018 as a Republican.
Well, Lisa, thank you.
Thank you.
We need to get ready to jump on another interview. So
Sure.
we thank you for your time. And our next steps are, I'll put this into a candidate profile that we'll send to you. And then, like I shared, I'll send that to you for your review. And then that will go up on our website. And then we'll just share with you next steps after that.
I just want to say to all of you, thank you for just serving, okay? Sincerely. I mean, can everyone hear me right now? All right.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you for doing what you're doing, okay? And for us out here, the majority of us, it's not about winning. There has to be some sort of change. So you're going to be getting my press release about Michael Vaughn. Please dive in extremely deep there. I'm working on that we can get 1 million posters throughout the state. I'm working with Town Square Media so that we can just explode the state. We need to find this boy. This has nothing to do with running for an election.